The storm raged outside the towering glass building as if the heavens themselves were bursting with secrets too heavy to keep. Inside, under the glare of golden chandeliers and polished marble floors, life-changing decisions were made by men and women in tailored suits, blind to the quiet miracles unfolding in the shadows. It was on a night like this when Destiny walked into the janitor's closet disguised as Heartbreak. Michael Grant, a widowed single father with calloused hands, tired eyes, and a heart still bleeding from loss, had no idea that mopping those glossy floors would lead him into a moment that would require him to pretend to love the most powerful woman in the city, a woman who had built empires but was crumbling on the inside. Backhand index pointing right if you believe in kindness, unexpected second chances, and the magic of humanity. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Ripple of Hope. Michael wasn't always a janitor. Once, he dreamed of architecture and art. That was before cancer took his wife, Emma, leaving him alone with their fragile 8-year-old daughter, Lily. The medical bills wiped out their savings, forcing Michael to take any job he could find just to keep her breathing machine running at night. He found work at Aurora Enterprises, an ultra-rich tech company ruled by the legendary CEO, Victoria Hale. She was known in the business world as the Ice Queen, a woman whose elegance, brilliance, and ruthless ambition terrified everyone around her. What no one knew was that behind the cold eyes and designer suits, Victoria was hanging by a thread. Her board of directors were planning a hostile removal unless she convinced them she had the emotional adaptability to lead the new humanitarian vision of the company. And to prove that, she needed to show she wasn't alone. She needed to show she was loved. Even if it was a lie. Michael swept his mop across the marble when security guards suddenly ushered him into Victoria's private office. He thought he was in trouble, maybe he had accidentally scratched something valuable. But there she was, sitting like a wounded queen beside a fireplace, swirling a glass of brandy as her tear-lined eyes scanned his uniform. "I need your help," she whispered, words no one in the entire company had ever heard her say. Before Michael could speak, Victoria blurted out, "Pretend you love me, just for 10 minutes." She promised 6 months of Lily's medical bills paid, a full college scholarship, and a promotion if he simply acted like her devoted partner during a surprise visit from the board. Michael's heart thundered against his ribs. Every fiber of his being told him to say no. But Lily was struggling to breathe at home. Her lungs had collapsed twice this month. Without hesitation, he agreed. In a surreal blur, they rehearsed the lie. Michael entered a conference room filled with skeptical millionaires, holding Victoria's hand gently as they performed affection with delicate precision, a stolen glance, a supportive smile, a hand resting over hers. But something unexpected happened as he spoke about how deeply proud he was of her compassion. His words, meant to deceive, began to carve open wounds inside Victoria's soul. She hadn't felt seen in years. The board bought the act, their ice-cold stares melting into approving nods. But the real storm was brewing silently in their hearts. Over the next few weeks, Victoria shockingly kept Michael by her side under the guise of a corporate consultant. She paid for Lily's treatments, sent chefs to their broken apartment, and even sat by Lily's bedside reading stories. Michael saw glimpses of a broken child inside Victoria, one abandoned by her father, one who believed that love was just a weapon used against her. With every act of kindness, their lie started turning into something dangerously real. He found himself thinking about her delicate laugh, the way her eyes softened around Lily, and how she'd tuck her hair behind her ear when nervous. She, in turn, saw in Michael the rarest thing in her ruthless world, a man who was powerful not because of money, but because of heart. But powerful forces conspired against them. News leaked of their supposed relationship, and the media circled like vultures. One rainy evening, Michael was summoned by HR and told his services were no longer required. Victoria, fearing that people would discover their secret, the lie that began everything, brutally cut him off in front of the entire executive team. "You're dismissed," she said coldly, her eyes betraying a storm of regret. Michael's dignity shattered as he walked away silently, refusing to expose Victoria's vulnerability. Lily's condition worsened. With no more corporate support, Michael sold everything he had left to keep her alive. Meanwhile, Victoria spiraled into depression. Her success felt meaningless. For the first time in her life, she had tasted something real, and she had destroyed it out of fear. The final turning point came when Victoria discovered that Michael had sold his late wife's wedding ring to pay for Lily's surgery. Guilt, love, and desperation collided inside her like a tidal wave. Without warning, she rushed to the hospital, bursting into Lily's ICU room. Tears streaming down her face, she knelt before Michael and whispered the truth, that the 10 minutes they once pretended had become the only moments in her life that ever felt real. She offered not just money, but her heart. Lily opened her fragile eyes and reached for Victoria's hand, smiling faintly. Michael, shaking with exhaustion and emotion, realized that this was no longer a performance. Sometimes life tricks us into pretending just long enough for the truth to wake up inside us. He embraced Victoria, not as a janitor holding onto a CEO, but as a broken man finding another broken soul willing to believe in love again. Weeks later, Aurora Enterprises shocked the world by announcing a revolutionary program providing healthcare and scholarships to staff's families. At the ribbon-cutting ceremony, Michael, now head of the foundation, stood beside Victoria, their fingers intertwined not out of pretense, but destiny. Piercing applause filled the room. Yet neither of them cared about the cameras anymore. All they cared about was the tiny girl in the front row cheering with all her heart, because she still had one. Backhand index pointing right. If this story touched your heart and reminded you that even the smallest act of love can change a life, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Ripple of Hope.